This episode of Street Warrior Radio is brought to you by our sponsors at Top Notch Tactics, who are huge supporters of the podcast, and our audio is coming to you through them. So we want to also thank Top Notch Tactics and let you know about Amazon Click-Through. We've let you know about Amazon Click-Through on every episode because it is a huge support. That way you can support our podcast, and we can give you an awesome product, and you can do the shopping you were going to do anyway through Amazon Click-Through. So the quick way to do that is go to streetwarriorradio.com, click the Amazon link before you do your shopping on Amazon, and a portion of your purchase, not anything you have to do, a portion of that purchase that you have made is going to go to Street Warrior Radio, and we can in turn buy better equipment and come to you live, sounding good, looking good. So make sure that you go to Amazon Click-Through on our website at streetwarriorradio.com, and we thank you in advance.
Supporting great causes is an excellent way to better the community and yourself in the process. Here at the Street Warrior Radio podcast, we are all about that. So do yourself a favor and check out Concerns of Police Survivors. They're a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the survivors of fallen law enforcement officers through a variety of means through support and fundraising events. A law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty affects everyone, but most importantly, it affects the surviving family and the officer's department. Concerns of Police Survivors understands this and is made up of surviving spouses, families, and fellow cops of the fallen officers. Check them out at nationalcops.org. Also, Disabled American Veterans is another nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of disabled veterans in ways perhaps the VA or other organizations have not been able to. They understand the challenges faced by our returning wounded warriors and the struggles their families face. Through various programs, they aim to mitigate these challenges and make the lives of our wounded warriors better. Check them out at dav.org. As always, you can find the links to these great organizations plus others on our website at streetwarriorradio.com on the left-hand side of every page. If you have a nonprofit that you support and would like us to spread the word about, hit us up at streetwarriorradio.com/contact or info@streetwarriorradio.com by email, as well as our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for Street Warrior Radio if you're not already following us, which you should be. We thank you for your proactive support and thank you for listening to our podcast. What do you mean, how do we get to the moon?
If we can't get past the Van Buren belt, which surrounds the Earth, how the fuck did we get to the moon?
What the hell are you talking about?
You've heard of the Van Buren belt, right?
I don't know that I've ever heard it called that, but
this is legit.
Okay.
I remember this from school. Honestly,
this is actual real science.
This is actually real science stuff. It's supposed to be I don't know if you want to say cloud, but it's supposed to be a field of radiation that does engulf the Earth.
Okay, sure, yeah, okay.
That keeps shit from right. coming in, and it, that's why shit is on fire when it comes into our atmosphere.
Right.
Because it had to go through that radiation, speed, catch on fire shit. How the fuck did we get past it to go to the moon if we can't go past it?
What are you talking about?
You have to go past that to get to the fucking moon. It's not like it's just, you got to go to the moon and you have to go into space, but you're telling me we can't go into space because of this belt.
What does this have to do with the Earth being round or flat?
Well, a lot.
In what way?
Because we're in the dome is why rockets can't go out. But they call it a belt of radiation that they're lying about.
So you're saying...
We've never been to the moon. Nothing is in space. Everything is in low Earth orbit. How come if there's all these satellites out there...
And the moon is a projection?
I'm not sure about that yet. I think the moon is more...
But the other day, though, you were like...
Listen, there's a couple videos that are contradicting myself. Just look it up.
Yes, because YouTube is the scientific source of all things.
Fucking science, bro. And then... Listen, this is my thing.
Yes.
How come there's no monkey fossils? If we came from monkeys, if we evolved from monkeys, how come there's no monkey fossils?
What?
If there's fossil fuels, How come not all the dinosaur bones turn into fossil fuels? And how have we been using fossil fuels? And there must have been billions of dinosaurs.
There probably were billions of dinosaurs.
We don't know any of this. This is all a lie.
This is Street Warrior Radio episode 006 with your host.
This is all fake news.
JC, because Big Boo is fired now.
You can't fire me.
Anyway.
First of all, I don't get a paycheck. I cannot be fired.
It's volunteer work right now.
I cannot be fired from volunteer time.
Sure you can.
It's impossible.
It's not impossible.
It's impossible.
Your services are no longer needed.
This is not true.
If this keeps up, it is true.
The show will go belly up without me. Belly up like the dinosaurs.
We literally had 5 of the 10 listeners that we have. They just quit.
They didn't.
They quit the show.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Listen, Elon Musk. Yeah, is it Elon
Yeah.
Musk is lying to the American people.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes. If you can get all these rockets to go into space, why hasn't a human gone yet?
Let's get him on the podcast. Let's find out.
He doesn't want these arguments. He will lose.
He'll lose. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you're backed up by your YouTube science, and he's backed up by actual science.
Is he, though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is he a scientist?
I think he's close to one.
He's not.
He's not a scientist? No. He's just an entrepreneur.
He's a rich entrepreneur.
Doesn't mean he doesn't know science.
I mean, I know science.
No, you know YouTube science.
No, I know real science.
Real science.
Real science.
And what is real science?
The Earth is possibly could be flat.
Oh, now we're at maybe possibly could be.
I'm just saying, there's some other views out there.
Yeah, well, there's facts. There's the Earth is round, which is
that's
real,
a theory.
And then there's the Earth is flat, which
then
is
how come? Riddle me this, Batman. How come? And all the experiments that they've done to try to prove the curvature of the Earth, they've never been able to prove it.
What experiments are you talking about?
There's tons of them. You can actually look these up online. There's tons of experiments that people have tried to do. Even the scientists who said it was curved could not prove for themselves.
Yeah, Billy Bob in his backyard in Alabama does not count as...
Listen, I was just in 360 Chicago, and I sent you the pictures.
Yeah.
You could see for miles.
Oh.
At least with my plain eye, 30 miles.
Okay.
The Earth curvature is supposed to be at like every 12 miles. Why was it never curving?
Earlier when you told me this, it was every 6 miles.
Well,
so now we're
I may exaggerate it a little bit.
Oh.
Dramatic effect.
Dramatic effect. Yeah. All right. Whatever. So, all right. Well, I guess we're going to talk about training now. Because that's what the podcast episode is supposed to be about, even though it's completely fallen apart at this point.
You know, I don't like how you're trying to make me seem like some crazy nut job here.
I haven't actually had to. You've done a good job yourself.
I knew you were going to say that. You know what? You're fired. How about that?
I can't be fired.
No one can be fired from this podcast.
Just
my civil rights.
Shut your mic off.
My civil rights are being violated.
My civil rights have been violated. My intellectual rights and... simply my IQ has been assaulted every time we have these conversations.
Someone actually asked me the other day if I believed all this.
And just to keep up appearances, you said yes.
I said there's some things out there you might want to look into.
There are some things out there you might want to look into. That's not necessarily legitimately one of them.
That's one of them.
All right. So anyway, how was your trip?
My trip was amazing.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I will say that so everyone hyped the food up that, people I know from Chicago.
Everybody says Chicago's got the best restaurants.
It was okay. It's a little pricey, but I will say I did like that it's public transportation, so no one has a car over there. So I definitely understand why a lot of my friends that are from the East Coast are quasi-alcoholics, because you can be one out there.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere you go, drinks are flowing.
Yeah.
And then you just wave a taxi down.
Get a ride, yeah.
Boom. So, I mean, people out there are very responsible with that, I guess.
Minus the 55 murders a day out there.
I mean, it's fake news. Could be fake news.
It could be fake news.
Could be fake news. I didn't see anyone get shot the whole time I was there.
Oh. Well, it's because you were in the nice parts.
Well, of course.
You didn't go to the south side of Chicago and stroll around?
I had no business over there.
Why didn't you have any business over there?
Because I was there to sightsee. I don't think there's any sights to see in Southside Chicago.
Really?
I could be wrong.
Wow.
But that's just...
I'd be careful with statements like that.
I'm just saying, there's not an art museum in Southside Chicago.
I'm sure there's plenty of cultural things.
I'm sure there was, but I wasn't there to see culture.
Oh.
I was there to see snow, and I got my fill of it.
Good for you.
I was there to see a bunch of snow.
And you went to Chicago.
And Lake Michigan.
And you went to the city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. City of Brothers.
So that you could go to a movie theater and see a movie.
That was one of the things I did do, yes. I was going to go to a Bulls game, but I waited, and then I asked my girlfriend if she wanted to go. She was like, she was like, I'm not a big Bulls fan, but then we ended up watching most of the game on TV, and I was like, we could have been there.
Was it the Timberwolves
game? It was the Timberwolves game.
Okay, so I got to say something.
Zach LaVine is a beast.
Yeah, he's all right.
Wow.
I got to say something. Lauri Markkanen, dude's legit.
I don't even know who that is. He didn't make an impact on me.
Really?
No.
You didn't even watch the game, did you?
I watched the third quarter and beyond.
Man, you missed out.
So, Den of Thieves.
Yes.
You know what? I'm not going to give a movie review. Let's
let's get a movie review.
Den of Thieves is a great movie. If you're a cop, you should definitely see that movie. It actually segues into what this episode is about.
Yeah?
Yeah. Training. Because... First of all, they give some numbers at the beginning of the movie that are totally out there. Like they were
what do
like,
you mean?
They were like, so spoiler alert. If you're gonna go see Den of Thieves and you haven't seen it yet, it's a spoiler. I'm not gonna tell you what happens. I'm just gonna tell you what the movie's about. It's about bank robberies. Mm-hmm. It's very Heat-like in nature. The movie Heat. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer.
One of the best crime movies there.
This is 2018's version of Heat.
Oh, okay.
That good. They put a stat on the beginning, like every 48 minutes in Los Angeles, a bank is robbed. That's 9 banks a day. And I was like, sitting in the theater, I was like, no. That should be 24 banks a day. Unless you're just going strictly on bank hours. You shouldn't even say 48 minutes a day. You should just say there's about 9 bank robberies a day. You shouldn't say every 48 minutes. It was a little too much.
Right.
And my girlfriend was even like, I don't think that's right. I was like, it's not. I just did the math.
Somebody didn't catch that in the editing.
Someone didn't. But besides that, the movie's really, really good.
Well, good.
Shout out 50 Cent.
50 Cent. So you're saying Gerard Butler actually made a decent movie?
Yeah. I mean, he did. He acted his butt off. I mean, it's a really good movie. It really is. The part where like the weapon manipulation and the training with their weapon that they do, and you could tell that those guys have actually been through some sort of military training. Yeah. The way they were manipulating weapons, especially around vehicles and crowded stuff, it was really, really good. So
that one dude, I guess the guy that plays I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name either, but I know him from Law and Order SVU. Like 2 seasons ago, he kidnapped Olivia Benson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I know him from 13 Hours.
See, yeah, I haven't seen 13 Hours yet.
Movie. Amazing. About the story of Benghazi. Actually went to the premiere of that.
I know. I remember you going.
Pretty cool. My wife and I did.
Yeah. Red carpeted.
Yep. At AT&T Stadium. That was pretty neat.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good old AT&T.
Mm-hmm. So I got to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
So it is February 11th, 2018 at the time of this recording. Yes. And at this time, right now, there have been 16 police officers killed in the line of duty. 12 of them have been to gunfire.
Yeah.
Gunfire deaths of law enforcement this year so far in the first month, not even month and a half, are up over 130%.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is insane.
This is starting out very much like it did a couple years ago.
Yeah. What was it, 2016?
Yeah. And on top of that, assaults on officers are up.
I didn't know that.
Violent incidents involving police officers being the victims of assaults or whatever are up this year quite a bit so far. This is not a good trend.
No.
At all.
It's not.
This is we kind of.
And one of them was in when it was in our backyard, as they always say. It was in Richardson, Texas. Yep. Our prayers go out to the family of that officer. There was one in El Paso. What's that? About 8 to 12 hours away from here. So, Our thoughts and prayers are to all the officers, but it's a little bit more scarier when it's that close to home. You know what I mean? Because you start thinking, we don't always think about, like, this could be my last day. Because you try not to. You try to put that in the back of your mind that this could be the last call I go to, or this could be the last time I see my family when I leave. We all know that, but I mean, as for me, I put it in the back of my head because you can't always have that being your main thought that this could be my last call. Because then you wouldn't effectively do your job. But when it happens that close to home, you sort of, you think, man, that could have been any of my buddies that work in the area. Because, we have plenty of friends that work in this area that we live in. So, I think I even follow a few officers from Richardson Police Department, and that's,
Yeah, I went to the police academy,
Oh, yeah.
Going a dozen years ago with 7 of them.
Yeah.
So, when they wouldn't release the name, it was like, oh my God, you're waiting for the name to get released, and it's like, do I know that person? You hope you don't, but I don't know where it's going to go from here. It's trending, it's continuing to trend up. It had a downward trend last year.
It did,
and then this year it looks. It's off to Have
you ever been to Below 100 training?
No.
Do you know about it?
I know about it, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to it either. I was scheduled to go and ended up having to switch. But for all of you that don't know, Below 100 is something that they offer here in the Texas area. They probably offer it everywhere. But it's a class to try to get to below 100 deaths for police officers each year. And that's something that is a goal of every law enforcement agency and the state is to be below 100 deaths. I mean, we know things are going to happen, but when you're already at over a dozen and we're not even a month and a half in, it doesn't look like you're going to meet that. And that's, you just have to wonder what are some things we can do to try to combat that.
Well, I think it's hard to counteract the ambush attack, there are counter ambush tactics and strategies, that you can train yourself to so that you can try to at least mitigate the damage that comes from the ambush and overcome it when it.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, more often than not, let's take the the Richardson officer, for example. We're talking, he was a SWAT sniper.
Yeah,
had a lot of experience. He was
a lot of training experience. Yeah. I believe he was military too.
Was he?
I could be wrong, but I know he's been to a lot of law enforcement training classes, especially for weapons and
he's a
personal training.
But it's the same thing in the principle of it, of when you hear about guys that are in tier 1 special operations units overseas that get killed.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter your skill set. If it's your day, it's your day. All you can do is try to train yourself to the point where you can try to mitigate the damage control, and be able to fight back and go on the offensive when you're in that situation. But it seems like with ambushes seem to be like the favorite tactic, as far as taking out a police officer. The one that happened yesterday. There's actually 2 that happened yesterday. Two officers were killed in Ohio. One was, and then there was a tribal police officer in South Dakota that was shot and killed on a domestic disturbance. But that was a 911 hang-up call.
And remember we were just talking about that.
Yeah, how routine is a 911 hang-up call?
Oh yeah.
You respond to them all the time if you're a patrol officer. You go to them all the time. You go to them several times a shift, and it's just like an alarm call or an open door call, or
and it's usually nothing, especially
a noise complaint.
I know in our city, weather will make those alarms. If it's like a really, really stormy, rainy day, you'll get constant house and business alarms, and you kind of get complacent.
Yeah, because 9 times out of 10 or 99.9% of the time, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's routine.
Yep.
And you kind of get caught in that loop. And I'm not saying that's what happened here. No. But it kind of, I don't know. You could easily see how, it's 911 hang up, whatever. It's probably just somebody arguing or nothing, butt dial or something like that, and it's going to be nothing.
That's always my biggest one that I always think, someone's butt dialed, or their kid got a hold of the phone and is playing with it.
Yeah,
it's happened to me, my kid.
From what I understand, the situation in Richardson, Texas was a little more little more of an active situation.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, it's just crazy the fact that we're at this point of the year already, and there's already a dozen police officers that have been killed.
Yeah.
You know, by gunfire.
Yeah, it's very crazy. So where do you think the priority of training in your life and at work comes in?
Well, I think that when it comes to training, you know, I think you have to look at it like this. You have to train at your job, right, to be the best you can possibly be at your job.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have certain training responsibilities in life outside of your job, right? You have training responsibilities as far as finding ways to be a better parent, finding ways to be a better spouse, self-defense training. I think that's super important. There shouldn't be a person in this country, and I'm not going to get political, but in my opinion, there shouldn't be a person in this country that does not take some sort of self-defense training to protect themselves and their families. I think they have a responsibility to do that.
Especially if you have a family.
It doesn't, although I believe it should be with a gun, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, obviously. You have the freedom to choose however you want to, you know, defend yourself and your family. But something to give yourself that edge when you encounter somebody that is trying to cause you and your family harm. Level of importance. I mean, it's you can't get better at something without training.
Yeah.
You know, even if you drop yourself into a job and you do it for years and years and years,
you can always become better at it.
Well,
no matter what you do.
But doesn't mean you're doing it right in the first place.
That's true.
You know what I mean? You gotta understand what it is that you're doing. You have to do everything you can. You have to work hard. You have to, you know, stay in the grind to master your skills, to become more proficient. And the only way to do that is to train. And that doesn't matter if you're getting more education to be a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
If you're a lawyer and you're
case studies,
constantly looking at case law and things like that,
yep.
or you're a doctor and you're constantly, you know, reading the latest medical studies, and you're looking at the latest practices and techniques and technology.
Oh yeah.
To a soldier, Marine, or cop, or firefighter, or anything like that, where they're, you know, you're constantly having to work on your skills in order to master your job.
Yeah, I think like an example I have for at work was it was when me and you and another officer were working night shift together, and I remember we were practicing felony stops. Yeah, and it was just, you know, here's the car, which way are we going to go? How are we going to position our lights? And I think we did that for, like a week, 2 weeks. It was a real slow time during the winter. And it was just like, okay, we got a couple hours to kill. You are our shift supervisor. And it was just like, okay, cool. You know, it was just training and getting that muscle memory. And then boom, we had one of those. Yeah. And man, that thing went so smooth. It was like butter, man. It was just really like boom. And I remember like us watching the video and we were like, it's exactly how we practiced it. I mean, exactly how we practiced it. And everything went well. The person was apprehended. Nobody was injured. And we could have been injured in that situation. Sure. I mean, it was definitely a very, I don't know, what's the word? It's not scary. It just could have went bad. Yeah, it could have went really bad.
It was intense. For sure.
It could have went bad. I mean, it was just it all happened so quickly. But because we had been practicing it,
we clicked. We clicked because we had run through the routines.
And we all knew where we were going. Yep. And nobody got in anybody's lane of fire. Nobody got in front of anybody's muzzle. And it was just like boom, 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 hook dude up.
Done. He's in a car. It was smooth.
And even after it, he was like, hey guys, I'm sorry. We were like, hey, not a problem. You know what I mean? And everything just happened smooth. So I think even working, training while you're at work is something that's very pivotal, especially in this job, military job, firefighter. You know, firefighters have it a little bit better because they do get all the equipment and they have, you know, places where they can go and, you know, put a building on fire and then put it out.
Yeah, I mean, your non-volunteer fire departments, non-volunteer, tend to be well equipped. They tend to have the things that they need,
and so they get that muscle memory. You know what I mean? So putting out a fire for them is just like second nature because they can put something on fire and put it right out. You know, we don't always have crime we can practice. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, hey, you go commit a bank robbery or some sort of assault, and we're going to come in and we're going to do what we do.
Right.
You know, we can't do that. So we have to try to create that scenario.
And it's harder to, because the shift pace is different.
Exactly.
So where most of the exception of your large urban fire departments, you know, most of your suburban fire departments or rural fire departments, you know, they're not having like a massive frequency of calls. Yeah. So they're able to dedicate more time to training and barbecuing and sleeping and things, as opposed to where in law enforcement, you know, you're almost constantly, you know, having to go from place to place, because
we are.
There are stretches of time where it's, you know, there's nothing going on, sure, but there's
and that just depends on where you work too. Right, I mean, if you're in a large urban area, there's no way you're going to get that. You're not going to get that hour.
If you're in a suburban department or rural department, you may have stretches of time where you aren't answering calls, but there's priorities for different tasks during those times for the most part. You know what I mean? We don't answer a call and then go back to the station and wait for the next one. We're doing traffic enforcement, or we're doing crime prevention, or we're doing something. There's always something there to occupy your time, and so
you got to have your presence felt in the areas and make it seem like there's more police than there actually is sometimes.
Sure, and it's hard to find the motivation to train, because at work, you know, you're constantly going, and then when you get out of work, you're like, I'm tired, I don't feel like doing anything, right?
Yep.
And that's the thing. One of the biggest problems with police work, with modern day law enforcement, is there's so much to the job, and there's so many tasks that you're having to do during your shift, that when you're off, you want to be off, which is completely understandable. You gotta have time to recharge, but
especially if you have a family too. Sure, you got to spend time with them.
Sure, but the problem is that where that hurts law enforcement, right, is in the fact that all that time is taken up with tasks, but there's no time dedicated to training. Yeah, and where a lot of officers fail themselves is putting in the training, putting in the time outside of work to be better, right? Like
that, and money.
People are, money too, but there's a lot of things you can do for free, especially when it comes to tactics, and when it comes to
sweep your house,
using, you know, manipulating your firearm, dry fire exercises, you know, sight picture exercises, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Den of Thieves, another cheap plug for them. There was one thing I saw a dude do, and I was like, God, I don't even do that enough. He was practicing without his weapon. He was practicing drawing his weapon, firing it, emptying his weapon of the magazine, reaching on his belt, putting another magazine in. Never had his weapon in his hand. Never had anything. He was just boom, repetitive with it, dropping the fake mag, putting in an air mag, and I was just like, boom. I mean, I never even thought about having an invisible gun and magazine in my hand, you know, but it's like, man, that's something you could do at your desk. And I mean, he was in his office, and he was, you know, they're getting ready to go out, and he's just practicing it over and over again. And I was like, that's really smart. You know, it's brilliant.
It is, because it builds that muscle memory.
Exactly. And that's one of the things our job is, because when you're going out on that call and things go south, your mind shuts down. Your brain is trying to compute everything, and it's working, and your body takes over.
Right.
Your body is the one that is doing everything, and it's on autopilot. So if you have put bad habits into your body and into your brain, it's going to go to those bad habits, because that's all it knows. It's what you trained it to do.
Yeah, training scars. Yeah, you're training in bad habits, and they become standardized in your movement and your repetition. And how you operate. You know, there's the old saying, you know, you train how you fight how you train.
Exactly.
You have to have similarities there. You have to train under stress in order to inoculate yourself to the stresses of the environment that you're going to be facing. You know, I mean, you can sit there at a gun range all day long and shoot at a paper target that's not shooting back, that's not moving, that's not running. You're not inducing any stress on yourself. Your biggest stress is trying to get, you know, a good little tight group on the piece of paper. You know, as opposed to doing movements, doing drills, doing, you know, utilizing cover, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, working from a vehicle, all that, where you're having to get your heart rate up, where you're having to, you know, there's time there's time limits. There's,
that's the best way to do it is, I think, to put that self-induced stress on you is to go to those ranges where someone's there with the buzzer, and it's like you hear, and you're just like, and I mean, at my training academy, the guy didn't have a timer, but he would scream in your ear, and he was just like, go, and you're just like, trying to figure it all out.
Build stress. And you have to find a way to focus while all that's going on, to kind of detach yourself and focus and be able to still work the problem and still solve the problem, because that's all you're doing when you're training. And regardless of if that's firearms training or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're perfecting your problem solving skills, right? Because that's what's a gunfight. It's a problem solving expedition or exercise. That's all it is. You have a problem and you're having to solve it. And that's with anything. You have a project deadline that you're trying to get done. You got this PowerPoint you got to get, taken care of,
That's super stressful.
Right? But you're frustrated because you're like, oh my God, this PowerPoint, I don't know what to do. Well, you can go on YouTube and train yourself how to use PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and you can apply it to, hell, YouTube's a fantastic resource, actually, minus all the crazy ass videos that are on there. Come on,
don't do that. Don't plug that.
But you can literally go on there and learn how to do almost anything.
Yeah, you really can.
And then apply, and then through real world repetition of the lessons that you learned on there, you can kind of develop some sort of mastery for it. Regardless, you still have to take the time, you have to take the effort, you have to put the skill and the know-how and absorb the knowledge and train. That's what it's all about. It's the only way, again, that you're going to be able to master whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is your task is. Most skills are perishable.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things about training your body is your body will literally forget how to do things. I was watching this E60 on this dude. He got in a car accident, killed his girlfriend at the time, and he forgot how to walk. And he was like almost paralyzed, but he wasn't. It was just he had some real severe spinal damage, and so he started getting trained by this almost like a personal trainer, like a strength and conditioning coach. And the dude was like, if your goal is to walk again, I'll help you. If your goal is to sit in a wheelchair the rest of your life, I'll help you. It's up to you. So the dude was like, I want to walk again. And I was watching him, and it literally looked like a baby trying to walk.
Sure.
And I was just like, that is crazy how the body will literally forget how to do the simplest task of put your left foot in front of your right foot, and he can walk now. He has a little assistance with a cane, but he still, for the most part, looks like he's still trying to get it.
Right.
And it's just like, I was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, hey, how come, it takes a baby, 3 years to learn how to walk? This dude's at 5 and he still hasn't got it. She was like, the same reason it takes a baby a year to learn Spanish, but it takes an adult almost 4.
Right. Yeah.
Is when you're an adult, it's a little bit harder for your body and your brain to process that. And, probably in the next 10 years, that dude will be walking like he never forgot how to walk. But in the meantime, he's like that. And it's the same thing with our training. If you're not putting your body constantly through that training of drawing your weapon or being cognizant of your surroundings, it's not going to do it. And it's going to forget how to do it. It's something you need to always do. That getting complacent, it's a 911 hang up, or it's just a simple domestic, I've been to this house a million times. Your brain will start thinking, okay, we can check out, your body's got it, and you'll go off somewhere else. And then when the shit hits the fan, your brain is in shock trying to come back, and your body's
trying to play catch up.
Your body's trying to play catch up, and that's when mistakes happen, and that's when officers get hurt, and that's when you could possibly get killed.
Some things as simply as pulling your gun out of your holster, remembering how to operate your holster.
Exactly,
As simple of a task as that seems like it is.
Yep.
If you don't learn and continuously keep up how to manipulate your holster, whether that be the unlock features on your holster,
I play with my unlock feeters on my taser and my weapon all day long.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's just I do it all during the shift. I play with them all day long, and it's just so I'm not drawing them down, while I'm on shift, but I'm definitely opening the hood, pressing the button, and acting like I'm pulling up, but I'm not.
Yeah,
closing the hood up, and just something you can do.
That's a simple movement.
Yeah,
that's a simple repetitive movement, and that's really all it really takes.
Oh yeah,
it's the old saying, the kiss strategy, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, it's as simple as that. None of this has to be complex. Hell, even gunfighting is not complex. It's very simple movements, very simple tasks. Yes, it does. It takes speed and precision. Sure. You get there eventually as you train more, right?
Yeah.
But it's not this like complex. It's not hard to do those things. It's just simply taking these simple foundations and putting them into a little formula and working it. But the only way to be successful with it is you have to continue to work on it. You have to continue to do it. It's the same thing with, writing a paper, right? Or reports or whatever, where the more you do it...
I'm going to be honest with our listeners right now.
Well, you're just dyslexic. You can't.
I think I'm probably top 5 worst report writers in history. Listen, this is my problem.
I think it's probably true.
This is my problem. It's not that I don't write a good report. I think, and my girlfriend tells me this all the time, you use too many words. And I'm I walked into the room, and as I walked into the room, I observed. And like, we don't need any of this.
Well,
kick it out. And I'm just...
The other part of that, though...
Writing reports is just not my forte.
Your grammar and punctuation and spelling is horrible.
Grammar... Punctuation is the worst.
It looks like you threw up on the computer screen, and then that's just what came out. It's just there. It's all there. Just all of it.
I am a non-comma and period using person. I
don't even know how you even survived college at this point.
You know what? It's because... I'll be honest, and just goes back to bad habits. We're on shift. You have a report, and you're just... I'm counting down the hours sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. I've got 3 hours to do this report. Done. Time. And then I'm like, oh, it's time to get off? I'll skim through this. First paragraph looks good. Rest of the report's got to be good.
Sure, yeah. First paragraph's good.
First paragraph's good. Rest of the report's got to be gold.
Couldn't have possibly made any mistakes.
No, I typed that thing in record time. Yeah. There's no way I made a mistake. And then I
feel like it's correct.
I feel like I did a great job at it.
You get back to work and there's 95 reports kicked back from the supervisor.
And they're like, "Did you even proofread this?" I'm going to be honest with you. No. I read the first paragraph where I said, on this date, I, Big Bo, arrived at a certain situation. And after that, the rest of it had to have been good.
Found bad guy, took bad guy to jail.
You know, why can't it be that? Found drunk, arrested the same. Incident clear. Boom. You know what happened.
Went to McDonald's afterwards.
Me and Crook stopped at Mickey D's.
He ordered.
We're horrible. But yeah, just report writing is something too. That's definitely training the body. And it's part of our job. Lawyers probably have the same thing. They've got to write all those,
They look at all the bad police officer reports and then
they learn
how to destroy you in court.
They look at me and they're just like, hey, we're going to see if
thank you. They'll take you out to lunch.
The DA's like, we're going to see if he's going to plead because this report is... Did you write this? Were you there when you wrote this? Have you ever been so tired you get that report and then they kick it back to you and you look at it and you're like, I don't remember writing this. There's no way I wrote this. This is crap.
I've been so tired before that I've gotten halfway through a report and just submitted it just so I had it done.
You're horrible.
It'll get kicked back and I'll finish it when I get there.
I'll finish it. They'll catch it in 3 or 4 days. I'll fix it then. Hey, so there's no end to your report. What?
What?
What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean there's no end?
God, that system is glitchy.
It's such a glitch. There was an update, wasn't there?
Yep, that's what it was.
Glitchy. Yep. Don't worry.
I got it. I'll take care of it.
I'll take care of it. Don't worry. You'll have it by the end of the day.
This report system sucks. Yeah, right? Yeah. And then everybody's like, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, he's right.
It's the worst system ever.
God.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who does it.
We all do it. There's a meme that's like 99% of police work is report writing. And 99% of that is fixing all the stuff the sergeant didn't like. And that is 100% true.
That is 100% true.
100% true.
You're stupid. So another part of that is definitely firearms training.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can get enough of that. I understand that it's an expensive training to do.
It's a very expensive. Expensive. There's aspects of it that are not expensive at all. There's actually a large portion of firearms training that doesn't even involve the range.
No.
But
for the accuracy part, that's where it can get expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to go out and actually shoot the gun, right?
You do.
I mean, that's part of it. But there's a lot of things you can do.
Speaking about shooting guns, yes. I need someone to look at my handgun. I think my front sights are off.
You need to find a certified armorer, sir, for that particular.
I didn't say you. I said someone.
I'm letting you know.
Well, I think actually my front sights are bent.
How did that even happen?
I don't know. It's a cheap gun.
That's not good.
It's not my duty gun.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But, that's in pristine condition.
Sure. Yeah. Right. So.
But yeah, a big portion of, you actually do have to go out and shoot the gun. And that to me is the expensive part. And I definitely understand when, officers, I don't have the time, I don't have the money to go out to the range, and I don't have, gotta fire so many rounds downrange. Just a magazine at least once a week. That's not too expensive.
It's not too terrible. I mean, listen, it comes down to personal discipline.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all guilty of it.
It's $26.
I'm not pointing fingers, but
no, definitely. I don't shoot as much as I should.
How many times do you go to the average person? Go to Starbucks or go to
McDonald's
or eat out or whatever,
At least 15 times a week.
And instead of, well, some people do, right? But instead of spending the money on that, make a sandwich at home.
Buy 50 bullets.
And buy a box of bullets and go to the range. Just pay. You should be able with that to have a box of bullets and pay the $10-15 range fee.
Yeah. And if your department has a free range set up, there should be no reason.
Then you have no excuse.
Yeah. Other than buying those bullets.
Other than time.
Yeah.
And maybe purchasing ammo.
Yeah, you should at least go and empty a magazine.
And there's some places that give you training rounds. They just give you bullets.
Yeah, you should have no excuse.
Yeah, there's no excuse there. But it's the same thing with, and I'm speaking specifically to police officers. It's the same thing as if you're dedicated to training, physical training. If you're working out and strength training and all that kind of stuff. If you're dedicated to that, you have to be just as dedicated to how and when, specifically when, to use that firearm.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter how good you look on Instagram or for all the, police picture things.
Right,
God, I mean,
it's like,
God, it's like a meat factory.
It really is.
It's just like
really is.
It's just too much sometimes, and they all post the same pictures.
And I'm pretty sure, like, every law enforcement agency in the continent of South America hires models only.
Yeah. Listen, there was like 2 girls I saw for like a 3 week straight, and I was like, dude, we look like perverts. I mean, you're simply posting this woman just because of the way she looks. I don't even know if she's a real police officer.
No, I think they only hire models down there.
Yeah, in Brazil and Argentina for sure. They have to.
That's it.
And these guys are just like, I'm gonna post her again. And it's like, calm down.
And yeah, oh my God.
I get it, it's your shtick, but geez Louise, I literally saw the same 2 girls for 3 weeks. It was horrible. But yeah, it doesn't matter how good you look or how nice your 6-pack is, if you can't function, right. And I want to look super good in my uniform. I get it. I would love to look super good in my uniform too, but I'd also like to stay alive.
Sure.
And part of that is training not only my body, but training my weapon. Training myself with me.
Also training defensive tactics in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like something to keep yourself going.
I mean, Ronnie Coleman looked great in a uniform, but I heard he couldn't scrap a lick. And you can't. Being that muscular, you just can't. He looked great in his uniform.
Well, I think there's a difference between show muscular for show, versus actual practical. Because, I mean, you got to realize, if I'm just lifting weights to get big and to look good and to do bodybuilding competitions, that does not mean that I have endurance for a fight. That does not mean that I have the strength for a fight.
Got to do some cardio.
I've seen dudes that have been like in super shape and couldn't fight worth a shit, or wore out like super fast, faster than even some of the fat dudes that were there. Yeah, you know what I mean, in a fight situation. So, you have, like with firearm. I mean, if you're training with a gun, if you're a cop, you have the utmost responsibility above so many things, aside from understanding the Constitution, aside from understanding the laws that you enforce, right? You have to know how to use that firearm, because Jesus Christ, you're talking about something that you may or may not ever use in the line of duty outside of a training situation, right? But there are plenty of times where officers have to pull their gun out and point it at somebody, and you have to be prepared to follow through with that if it should happen. And if you're prepared to follow through with it, you have to be able to have the skills and discipline to be able to execute that. Because if you just start banging on that trigger and rounds start going all over the place,
you gotta be accountable for every round.
You hit an innocent person. Guess what? You're going down for that.
And not only are you going to go down for that, but imagine how bad you'd feel.
Well, you're changing everything. That's the thing. In today, especially it's always been this way, but today is so amplified. Yeah. That if an officer has to use their weapon, it changes everything.
The whole dynamic of the
changes the whole thing. It changes the city. It affects the city. It affects the officer. It affects the person that the force was used against. It affects the community as a whole. It affects the country. You get into a shooting situation, right? And more times than not nowadays, that's national news. Yep. And if it's a big incident, it's all over the world. Yeah. And everybody's looking, and you got to figure, ever since the whole Ferguson deal, right? Cops now, I mean, you get into a highly publicized shooting, justified shooting. I'm just going to use justified shooting as an example. Yeah. There's a good chance that your career is over no matter what. Yeah. Because you'll
still be able to work at the PD you work at probably, but you'd probably never be able to leave.
Maybe, depends on the size of it.
Yep.
It changes so much. So many things happen, right? Yep. That's not true in every case. No. But it has happened. You have to have the self-discipline and the responsibility to understand how to use that tool, that firearm, which is a tool, but you have to use it properly because it has the biggest consequence. Yeah. When you use it.
It does. Right? Like you said, it changes everything. Like, it'll even go to the point like, well, why were you on that call? I was dispatched, but were you? I believe I was. You're not too sure now, are you?
Yeah, I mean,
Did I not get dispatched to this call?
And those can get crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And which is, thank God, why there's things like police associations and things
that help
you with that. But because and we can get into a whole thing about the mind and how it works, and how when you get into a situation like that or a traumatic incident, how your memory recall is affected, both short term and long term. I mean, there's a whole thing about that. There's a whole science behind it, and it's incredible. And if people actually took the time to understand how it works, they might be a little more forgiving of how stories are recounted, or how long it takes for the facts to come out in an investigation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, just think about when something like you get in an argument with your significant other. Right. And then you go back, everyone does this. You replay that argument in your head and you're like, oh, I should have fucking burned her right there. I fucking had something for that. You're laying in bed next to her like, oh, I swear to God, next argument.
It's over though now.
I've got this in the Rolodex. Yeah. You know, just imagine that times a million. Right. You know what I mean? You went to a call, something went bad, and you had to use your weapon. Mm-hmm. And someone could have died in a result of that or got injured. And now you've got 20 different people asking you what happened. Right. And it just happened. So you're going to go with what your mind picks out first. Mm-hmm. And then 3 days later, you're like, oh, I forgot to tell you this. And people are like, oh, he's lying. No, he honestly just didn't remember. Right. How didn't he remember? It was him that it happened to.
Which is why the kind of sweet spot for memory recall after a major incident is anywhere between 48 to 72 hours. Yep. Because it gives the brain time to process and catch up to everything that happened. Right? Yeah. But I mean, that's, like I said, we can go to a whole thing about that. But,
next episode,
firearms training is, especially if you're a police officer, I think if you're really anyone, if you're going to own a gun.
Oh, yeah, especially if you're going to own a gun for home defense.
Get training. Yeah. Go to a training class. Don't when you go to the gun store and you buy a gun, you pass a little background check and you get it and you take it home and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean you know how to use it. It doesn't mean you understand the consequences behind using it doesn't mean you understand.
I know someone right now who has a gun in their closet, and they've shot it. They've shot it one time. They didn't even know how to use the quick release on it.
See, that's ignorant. It's just ignorant.
It's a gun that's too big for them. It's a gun that they shouldn't own. Mm-hmm. And they were like, I don't even know how to load it. And I was like, why the fuck do you have it?
Why do you have this?
They were like,
throw it at them
is there a quick load? I was like, no, this isn't a this isn't an M16.
Yeah,
there's no quick load.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, it's because it hurts my fingers. Well, because it's a brand new magazine. How many times have you shot this? They were like, I've only shot it once. I was like, what, the day you bought it? Mm-hmm. I was like, this is too big of a gun. The guy at the gun store told me it was great. Of course he told you it was great. He's still trying to sell a product.
Right.
And it's an expensive product. So, I mean, I literally have had that conversation with someone. That grinds my gears. So, knowing that that's me, and I know that one person, imagine how many people there are that like you said, passed the background check. What should I buy? Well, what are you trying to do? I don't know. Well, we got this one. How much is it? $300. I have a budget of $350. Give me that and a round of give me that and 50 bullets. Here you go.
I could sell you 2 high points for $350.
Oh my God, I sell you 2 high points.
Package deal.
It's
a backup for when the other one fails after the first shot. You can get 2 shots out of 2 guns.
Why do they call them high points? Well, son. Anyways, but yeah, so I mean, there's people like that.
Yeah, if you're going to own a gun, you have got to get training. It doesn't mean that you have to go and spend $10,000 a year in training classes.
No.
But you need to take the time to save up money to go to somebody local. Go find a local. Tons of local ranges put on classes, right?
Yeah.
Go to a couple classes. Do your research online. Go research people. Go to YouTube. Research people that are established trainers in the firearms industry. People that have great reputations, you know, your Aaron Cowans of the world and things like that. And listen to what they have to say.
For sure.
And then go to your local people and listen to what they have to say. If it's radically different, maybe you want to ignore certain things.
Yeah. Or you have to find out what's comfortable for you too. Like, you know, you'll have everyone tell you you should only shoot this way, or you should stand this way and shoot, or you should only pull your trigger this way. The only way you're going to know what's right for you is by actually shooting the gun.
Sure.
That's
actually getting familiar with it and all that. And it's more than just that. If you're going to get a gun, you have to understand that it's a tool, but there's a responsibility behind the tool. I can learn how to shoot it, but do I know how to shoot it at nighttime in a dark hallway in my house? No.
Does it come with night sights?
Do I own a flashlight? Do I know how to use the gun and the flashlight at the same time? Do I know? There's so many different things, and these are just basic. We get a form of this training, right?
Yeah.
But it's for everyone. I mean, if you're gonna use a gun, you got to learn how to use it with a flashlight. You got to learn how to use it at night. You got to learn how to use it in your house. You got to understand. Can you go into your house and close your eyes and walk your house?
I can.
I mean, do you know your house that well? Those are things you got to ask yourself, right? Do you know where your kids' rooms are? You going to be able to think about these things, you know, when somebody breaks into the house? Because guess what? You're going to feel like absolute dog shit if somebody breaks into your house and you grab that brand new Colt 1911 that I just bought.
Oh, God, because the guy behind the counter said this was a good deal.
45, and 45s have stopping power. Anyway, so that's the line of bullshit that you were sold on, and you bought your little, 45 with its 8 rounds, and you decide, oh, somebody broke into the house, it's time to get it on, and you go to confront this person, and you just open up on them, and
you are literally throwing lead. When
it's all said and done, there's 5 holes in your kid's bedroom wall, and they've been shot.
That would suck.
I mean, is this, that's why it has to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with law enforcement, where we're fighting people in an open environment.
Yep.
When we're out in public, or we're in a house, or whatever, and it goes to that point where you have to get into a gunfight. You have to have the knowledge and the understanding and the training behind it so that you don't create, at least you try to mitigate as much as possible any sort of collateral damage that might come your way. Because there's so many things that come with that just aren't worth it. Your life is forever changed at that point.
Yes.
From
no matter what happens, even if you didn't hit anything or you didn't end up,
Or let's say you got 100% hit rate on the bad guy, right? 100%.
Yep. You're still gonna have to go through a murder investigation.
Guess what? You're charged with murder.
Yep.
Guess what? Well, you're not. I mean, you're under investigation for murder, and they send it up to the grand jury.
Yep.
The grand jury decides whether or not it's justified or not based on the evidence that's there. But then there's probably going to be a civil suit from the family. They're probably going to sue you.
Could possibly be. Yep.
The city's going to get sued. There's still the criminal court. Let's say they survive. There's still a court. There's so many things, and that's whether you're a cop or a civilian.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same process no matter what. With that firearms training,
at least you can say, hey, if it, comes back that, that's going to be something that's in your favor.
Right.
I've been through several classes, I properly use my weapon, They'll be like, okay, well, they weren't just chucking bullets. They actually aimed center mass. They weren't trying to shoot this guy in the femoral artery. It's just, excitement and all this other stuff.
It's about stopping the threat.
Yeah.
Like we train in law enforcement. We don't train to kill. We train to stop the threat.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's cute. It's a cute concept, and I understand that for the legalese of it. But, in all reality, if you have somebody that's shooting at you with a gun, how are you going to stop the threat?
Yeah, aim center mass.
By killing them. I mean, that's really how it is. So, you don't go to combat as a soldier, right? And they go, hey guys, we're going to go assault this target. If anyone stops shooting at you, we're not going to kill them all. We're going to stop the threat, guys. Right? We're going to stop the threat.
That's a whole nother animal.
It is and it isn't, because you're talking about you're talking about the basic concept of
it's just common sense
of this guy, and they have guns pointed at each other. And they're fighting with the guns. That's combat, right? It doesn't matter if it's on Main Street in America or if it's on
Kandahar.
Yeah, whatever. It's on, Alu Babi Street in Ramadi. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Maybe it's on a grander scale and the circumstances are different, but on a human-to-human level, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a responsibility, though, if you're going to learn how to use a gun, and you should get some medical training. And I always, no matter what, and whatever firearms training that I've instructed, I always talk about medical training. You need to get medical training. If you're going to learn how to put holes in people, you need to learn how to plug them up.
Yeah,
right.
And that's also goes with the military. It's like once you shoot them, go render aid to them now. Be civil.
Which you have no legal responsibility in the United States to render legal or render medical aid to somebody that just tried to use deadly force against you. Right?
No.
That's a personal choice. That's a morality choice. I'm not going to get into that. But let's say you're shot, or a buddy shot, or a loved one shot.
Yep.
Right? Well, you have the option to wait till the ambulance gets there, right? Or you have the option to get them some immediate trauma help, and then stabilize them enough to where when the ambulance ride over there, they're probably not going to die, right?
It could be the difference between life or death.
It could absolutely be the difference between life or death.
Especially if you can get a tournament on someone in enough time and put it in the right spot, you could save a limb, you could save a life. You know what I mean?
Learning how to use a tourniquet.
Yeah.
Learning how to use emergency bandages. Learning how to deal with tension pneumothorax and collapsed lung, or learning how to clear airways, pathways, all that kind of stuff. Learning how to do a tracheotomy. Those are important things to learn, and they're not hard. That's the thing. They're not hard to do. It's actually a very simple class. Self-aid buddy aid is actually a very simple class. It's a very simple, easy, rudimentary concepts. You're not performing surgery. You're not doing these crazy things.
It's honestly just putting on a Band-Aid on a bigger scale.
First aid is what it is.
It's you know what I mean?
For a trauma wound. And it's really not hard.
And if you have kids, you should at least take some sort of first aid class.
Oh, absolutely.
Something.
Absolutely.
If you have kids,
you should take a basic first aid class.
You should. I mean, but if you have kids, for sure. I mean, kids are some of the most daringest daredevils I've ever met in my life. What's that, a roof? I'll jump off it.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, watch this.
Yeah. Hold my juice box.
Hold my sippy cup. Watch this.
Sippy cup. Watch how I can be an extreme dumbass today. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, you should learn how to, like I said, it's honestly like putting on a Band-Aid on a bigger scale for grown-ups. You know what I mean? Tourniquets.
Yeah, it's more gruesome and it looks crazy and stuff. But I mean, but you're talking about
at least know the signs of a sucky chest wound, or if someone's in shock or if they've had a head trauma. Because, you know, when someone has a head trauma, you probably shouldn't do the same things you do if they had a broken arm. You shouldn't move them. You shouldn't do anything. Just lay still. Because you don't know what's cracked in their vertebrae.
About airway management.
Exactly.
Learn about airflow management. Learn about all those things that...
Yep. Is the scene secure?
Yeah, exactly. Do you... So I have medical training, but my buddy just got shot and the gunfight is still on.
Yeah.
Am I going to stop to help my buddy while the gunfight's still on?
Exactly.
No,
you're not at all.
You're just not.
You gotta still try to eliminate the threat, and
because you can't help him if you're dead.
Real quick, what was it the other day? So my girlfriend is a diabetic. You know this. The listeners don't. My girlfriend is a diabetic. So when she has her diabetic episodes, sometimes she can just be out of control. Mm-hmm. And the other day I was like, "Are you all right?" She was like, "Of course I'm all right. Why would you ask that?" I was like, "I don't know, because every fucking training I've ever had in my life tells me to ask people if they're all right." She was like, "What is that accomplishing?" And I had to break it down to her. She was like, "Oh, well, yes, no, I'm fine." I was like, "Are you sure you're fine?" "I don't know if I'm fine." I was like, "Did you eat anything?" "I can't remember." I was like, "Well, we should probably get something in you." But it's just that little thing. She was just like, "Why would you ask me that question?" I mean, if you've never dealt with someone who has diabetes, they're like alcoholics.
Yeah.
When their blood sugar gets low, so it's like rationalizing with a drunk. And it's, to me, sometimes it's hilarious. Like, I mean, one night she was in the kitchen eating marshmallows out of a bag, throwing them at us because she was, and like 30 minutes later, she didn't even remember it because her blood sugar's low and their brain just doesn't work, and it's hilarious to me. But, I mean, there's certain things, you know, and that's muscle memory to me, asking someone if they're okay. Yeah. Because that's the biggest thing, you know, if someone can talk to you before you just start going over there and putting tourniquets on them, you know, "I'm just going to put this around your leg." "Well, my leg, I got shot in the arm."
"My leg's fine."
"Well, there's blood on your leg." "Guess from my hand."
I just stumped my toe, sir."
"You're getting a tourniquet." You know, there's just certain things that you need to learn how to do, especially, you know, just for anything. You know, you never know when you're going to drive across someone who's been in a major car accident.
Yep, exactly.
If you accidentally hit someone who walked out into traffic, you know, you just never know when you're going to use it. So just a basic medical safety course would be great for any person. Most places, they're free.
A lot of them are. A lot of them are. And if they're not too bad. Or you got to look at it like this.
The YMCA, I know, puts on free CPR classes. They've been doing it for years.
For your basic, for your advanced, you know, trauma care type stuff, your self-aid buddy aid, tactical combat casualty care and stuff. Yeah, some of those courses cost money. But I look at it like this. You got to look at it like, what's the investment on my life worth? Yeah. What's the investment on my wife's life worth? What's the investment on my children's life worth? Yep. Is my child worth $250?
Yeah, definitely, all day long.
I mean, those are things you have to consider, right? Yeah. Getting yourself some decent medical equipment. Simply, all you really need is a tourniquet. I mean, on a base level, a tourniquet and an emergency bandage at the base level.
At the base level, yeah. Or at least learn how to improvise with a tourniquet.
A good cat or softie tourniquet, you're talking about $25 and an Israeli bandage, you're talking about $8.
I mean, I'm still learning. I mean, I'm still learning with my girl in her being a diabetic. Like, I still get it messed up. I'm like, so this means you need juice or this means you need insulin, you know, because that's still confusing to me at times.
But it's important I know which one is the right one.
Yeah, and that's what she always says. She's like, "No, right now I need insulin." I'm like, she's like, "If you give me juice, I'm gonna die." And I'm like, "Well, thank God you're coherent enough
for clearing that up." Yeah,
yeah,
because I was about to grab the juice.
And I mean, there's been times where like she's like, "I don't feel good," and I immediately get up to go get juice, and she's like, "No, I need insulin," and I'm just like, "Well, I mean, you need to talk, because if not, you're gonna die around me." You know, and there's just certain things, you know, you need to learn about people and your surroundings. You know, I don't see them very much. I think you're one person I know that has one, is your blood type inside your vest.
Yep. Yeah, I got a patch on my vest.
You got a patch on your vest, you know, and in the military, everybody had, you know, you have your dog tags. Luckily, I have my dog tags tattooed on me, so someone will know what blood type I am if they cut my shirt open. But that's one thing as a police officer, you know, I know so many people that don't even know their blood type.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't. Go to the doctor, have them do a quick test on you, learn your blood type. That could save 10 or 15 minutes if you're ever shot or you're in a car accident and they need to give you blood. You know, they're going to be like, "What blood type are you?" "I don't know." Great. Now we all have to take time out, figure out what blood type you are, or just try to find O positive or O negative.
Yeah, see, like me, I keep it in 3 locations. I've got a patch on my Velcro patch on my vest. I've got a keychain that's on my key ring. Yeah. And then I've got written on my actual trauma kit that I carry in my cargo pocket. I have it my last name, blood type.
I have it on my little cargo, the inside of my little combat medic patch. The little, what is that? I can't remember the name of them. IFAC. I have it on my little IFAC on the inside what blood type I am on a little Velcro. But I don't have one on my vest, which I probably should get. But if you don't at least know what blood type you are, you need to learn. You should learn what blood type people on your shift are. I know JC is B positive. So, you got to learn at least if, what the people you work with, what their blood type is. So that way, if they're unconscious and they don't have it on their thing, when the medics get them, you can say, he's B positive, he's A positive. It just helps out. It can save your life.
Sure. Absolutely.
JC is B positive.
And it's important. All right. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things involving training we could continuously go on about. There's a lot of important topics, whatever, but we're going to segue into war stories, right?
Yes, war stories.
We actually have a listener submitted war story.
Awesome.
And then depending on how this goes, we'll kind of look into what we want to share if we want to.
Okay.
So this is this submission comes from a frequent contributor to the podcast, Brendan, who is actually the CEO of his own company. It's called Starfire TC, and it's a web company. And he's got no military or law enforcement, so his war story is on a personal level. It's a personal life story, right?
Okay.
Which we talked about. War story is kind of a catch-all for
anything.
But
we just want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, we just want to hear from you. This is it's awesome that he submitted this. It's actually a very personal story, and he shared it. And we wanted it shared, and I was more than happy to oblige. So, Brendan's war story has to do with the birth of his daughter. So it goes like this. The first time I got to hold my daughter was Father's Day, June 18th, 2017. She had been born 15 days earlier on June 3rd, 2017 at 2:25 p.m. by emergency C-section. She was 15 days old, 14 inches long, and barely 2 pounds and 4 ounces. She had wires attached to her little body for monitoring her vital signs and tubes to help her breathe and keep her tiny lungs and airways open. She was too small to regulate her own body heat, and to hold her, it had to be bare chest contact to keep her body temperature up and keep her comfortable and warm. She was born at only 27 weeks and 6 days. She was born a single day before her third trimester would have started.
God bless.
I know, right? I can't even imagine. I was the one holding her this night because my wife was back in the hospital having had a stroke the day prior. Now, they're a young couple. They're our age.
Okay.
So think about a stroke. A stroke the day prior, a rare complication from the eclampsia she had gotten while pregnant, leading to the baby being born 3 months early. When the baby was born, my wife got to see her new baby girl only a scarce few moments before she was transferred to a higher level NICU and ICU, and did not. It's neonatal. I think it's neonatal. Also,
yeah,
right.
NICU, yes, for babies.
Yeah. And did not get to see her again for 4 days. She would be in the hospital again for several more days, recovering from the stroke. God, I just cry. You think about that. You just think about that. You have a child that's born 3 months early, right? And so obviously there's complications that go along with that.
Yeah.
And then your wife has a stroke.
Yep.
Goodness. Sitting in the chair, my daughter in my arms and nuzzled into my chest, I knew that I had nearly lost my baby girl just 2 weeks before, and over the course of the 2 weeks had almost lost my wife twice, once from the pregnancy and once from the stroke. On top of that, the baby was now in the NICU. Our house was on the market to be sold, and we were in the process of moving into my parents' house, moving out of our house, moving into his parents' house, and they're trying to find a new house to live in and keep his business open and moving along. In the course of 2 weeks and in the course of 2 weeks and 2 seconds, in 2 seconds, our lives had changed drastically, irreversibly, and unexpectedly. Our daughter would end up spending 78 long days in the NICU. The stroke took half my wife's vision. She's totally blind on the entire left side of her field of vision. Suddenly, I was the only one in the family that could drive, and it took us those 78 days to get her started on the road of learning how to compensate for her new normal, her vision loss, including balance issues and, of course, the emotional and mental issues that are present from such a traumatic and life-changing event, plus the residual problems from the pregnancy and postpartum depression. People ask how we made it through and how we dealt with it all at once. The answer is surprisingly simple. Family, communication, planning, and faith that we will make it better. Wow. Our baby girl is now healthy and happy 7-month-old. Our new house is almost done being built, and we have consolidated our lives around our new normal. It took work to get through, driving to the NICU every day, learning how to care for a premature baby, planning all the doctor's appointments for my wife, and then the baby when she was discharged and came home. We had to swallow pride and ask for help from friends and family who were more than ready and willing to help in every way they could. Faith that things would get better, faith in yourself and your spouse and family are also vital. We also had to become teachers and educators along the way, as our daughter is the first on both sides of the family to be born so prematurely. The last 7 months have been a grind, but putting our heads down and getting to work and moving through the grind has paid off and will continue to pay off. I have always known on an academic level that there are things you cannot change and must accept and adapt to, and things that you can change and should. The past 7 months have put those words into reality and aided in navigating the turbulent times of life. So that's his war story. He does add a very, very sweet note here. A thank you to all of our police, EMT, paramedics, firefighters, nurses, and all other first responders. Big Bo, thank you for your service to your country and the personal sacrifices you had to make in that service. You are all heroes and the kind role models that I hope to teach my baby girl to look up to and emulate. So
salute to that dude, man. That's tough, man.
That's incredible.
I mean, both being fathers. I
know.
Yeah, man. So that's crazy.
I had to purposely make reading mistakes to force myself to concentrate on correcting words, so I didn't get all weird about this. Because just being a dad and thinking about all that, my stepdaughters went through all that kind of stuff. I missed all that because I didn't come into their lives until they were a year old. But so I didn't see, I didn't get to experience any of that early.
My daughter was like this. My daughter was born a month early, and she came out emergency C-section. She wasn't even breathing for the first 3 minutes. So wow. And then I'm standing outside the NICU, and the nurse is like, "You can go sit down." I was like, "Not till I start seeing her breathe."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
When that happens, I will gladly go sit down. And so I definitely feel. She wasn't in the hospital near as long as his daughter was, and I salute him for that.
78 days.
Yeah, my daughter was in there for 15 days, and she had the same thing. You can't keep their own heat, that she couldn't breathe in her own air yet. It's just crazy because they're born so young that they still have to.
Well, yeah, and you're dealing with all those health issues, right?
Yep.
Of your daughter, not knowing how that's going to work out.
Yep.
And then your wife, who's 30-something years old, has a stroke, and now she's blind in one eye, and you're having to deal.
My hats are off to both of them, man. God bless them, man.
Seriously.
For real. It takes a lot, incredible. And then that he can be a stand-up guy and be there for his wife and his kid. When so many guys are selfish and still have that macho feel. It's my baby and it's my wife, but I got to go to work. She'll be fine.
Well, that or the pressure's too much. There's too many. It's time to bounce. Time to find.
I've got to work
new.
on me.
Yeah,
I can't take care of nobody if I can't take care of myself. And it's this dude stood up, and
he stood up. He was a man about
moving in with his parents. Waiting on his new house to get built.
At 30-something years old, it's hard.
I've never sold a house, but I hear it's one of the most stressful things you can ever do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now his baby's 3 months early. His wife is partially blind. He's the only one doing the driving. God bless this guy. Thanks for your war story. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and he's trying to run a business.
Yeah.
On top of it.
That's the grind, man. He was in it. he was in the thick of it.
But he and his family have been super supportive of the podcast, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
They have reaped the benefits of the Amazon click-through, just saying, for anybody.
Anybody that wants to do it.
Whatever,
you know,
if you so choose to.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Please choose to.
Yeah, please.
Please choose to.
Help me, I'm poor. No, just kidding. It goes directly to the podcast.
It goes directly to the podcast.
By way of my bank account. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, do you have anything you want to share for as far as war stories goes?
No, man, I really don't. I mean, I can sympathize with him because I definitely know how it is to have a child in the NICU and be there. And like I said, mine wasn't nearly as bad as his, but I can definitely sympathize with him. I mean, we had to go home. My daughter's still in the hospital, and we had to go visit her for a week, and it's just super hard because you don't get to bring her home yet, you know. So I can definitely sympathize with that, and I don't want to do anything to try to overshadow his war story. That's too good.
No, I wouldn't be overshadowing. It's just sharing. There's no overshadowing. I'll share one from when I was a kid.
There you go.
Personally tragic event that took work to overcome.
Really?
Right? Yep. So when I was 10 years old, right? Yeah, 10 years old. My left arm went through a plate glass window.
Ooh.
Right? Funny story how I ended up doing that was, okay, so I was at a friend's house, right? We were alone, and he lived in like this really old house, right? Well, anyway, I have never, at that point in my life, I never heard of, and since have never even seen these again. But anyway, these doorknobs, when you shut the door automatically locks. And you have to pull the doorknob out. You pull the doorknob and it clicks, and then you turn it and the door opens. I've never seen it before at that point. Never even heard of it.
I've never even seen or heard anything like that.
But apparently it's common in some old houses.
Okay.
Okay, so he goes outside to feed his dogs, right? We just eating pizza, right?
Doing kid stuff.
Yeah, doing kid stuff alone.
Mario Kart.
His dad owned a restaurant in where we grew up, and it was like, yeah, they're good. They're 10, 11 years old. Everything's fine, right? And we had a friend coming over. Like,
I leave
everything
my
was
3-year-olds alone. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah. with the guns out.
Yeah, no.
I'm responsible.
I'm responsible, damn it.
So he goes out to feed the dogs, right? And I had to go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, and I go to open the door, and it's not opening.
Yeah.
So I'm like, bang.
This new technology to you.
Yeah, it's completely advanced. So it's not open. So I'm jiggling. I'm like, I didn't lock the door, right? And so I kind of had this weird thing about claustrophobia at the time, because when I was a lot younger than that, when I was like 4 or 5, whatever, I got locked in a closet in my bedroom, and it freaked me out.
Okay.
Right? Actually, I think my sister locked me in the closet. But anyway, so I started getting like, real weird about it, like claustrophobia and stuff. So I was like, I got to get out of this room. So there was a window.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, well, he's outside. So I'll just open the window. I'll climb through it. I'll walk around. No big deal, right? This is the thinking in my head. So I get up to the window, and I'm like, well, this is a different window. We've got different doors in this house. We've got different windows. It's a crank window.
Oh, okay. I know.
Opens
I've
by
seen
crank,
that technology.
Right? Yeah. I had seen that technology too, because the school I went to had
I was just
some
about
of
to say
those,
schools
right?
had them when I was little.
Well, it's like the ones in the schools, they have the multiple panes that open up. But this one had 2 big panes. So like it just kind of like opened up, right? Well, I'm cranking the window, right? I'm putting in a lot of work, and there's a little result. Like it's just barely going down. So it finally stops going down. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I didn't say that was 10.
Yeah.
But
Fiddlesticks.
Dag narbit. So I'm like, okay, I'll just push it the rest of the way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Sure. It's a good idea.
Because this house isn't obviously 3,000 years old.
It's glass, like metal, right? It doesn't break. So I start pushing, and my left hand was on the glass, and so I pushed. I just like I went straight through that glass, like it was nothing, right?
Yeah.
I realized then there was a problem as I look down on the floor, and all I see is red everywhere, right? I couldn't feel anything because, as it turns out, the glass had sliced everything all the way to the bone.
That's what's up.
No nerves. I mean, gone. Well, that included the artery that runs through your left arm, which is important. And so I actually turned my wrist over, and for a split second, I could see the bones in my hand, my wrist. I could see the bones down there.
That's great.
Before it filled back up, right?
Oh.
Well, I don't know if you've ever had an arterial bleed.
No.
But it actually, with your pulse, will shoot blood out like a squirt gun.
Oh, cool.
So I'm standing there looking at it, and like I'm in shock, right? And I'm squirting the mirror. It's just like that, right? So my friend hears the glass break, and he comes and he's like, "Hey, what was that?" And I was like, "I need help. How do I open the door?" And he tells me I pull the doorknob and turn it. I'm like, dumbass, right?
Why didn't I think of that? Fiddlesticks.
So I pull the door knob, I turn it, I open it up, and he's standing there, right? And he sees this, and he's like, I think he actually said, "Holy shit." And so we go into the bedroom. He goes to call his dad. Well, my super elite Cub Scout training kicked in, and I knew that I had to put. We had actually learned that if you have a bad cut, you put pressure on it, right? Well, that was a futile thing, but I didn't realize that at the time. So I went and grabbed some towels out of his kitchen, started applying pressure. Prior to that, though, his dad, who owns this restaurant, right? His dad and I think it was his stepmom, they had saved up and bought these beautiful, like brand new, like $10,000. Like they had, and this was not a house you put $10,000 couches in, but there was like they wanted these couches, and they worked their asses off to get these couches.
You would have never came back to my house again.
So as I'm going through the living room, these are white couches.
Oh,
well, they turned another color because I sprayed them. There was blood everywhere. Like I mean, we're talking like all over these couches, everything. So he calls his dad and tells his dad, "Hey, JC's cut real bad. He's bleeding all over the place." So his dad, and the restaurant was only like half a mile away. So he bails, comes to the house, walks in. He's like, "Holy shit," and scoops me up, throws me in the back of his little, he had one of those like 88 like Ford Broncos.
Oh,
yeah,
the OJ.
Yeah. So he throws me in the back of those, or the back of that thing, and like I'm bleeding off it, and like it was horrible. I'm like, "Am I gonna die?" And all these things as a worker. So he takes me straight to the hospital. Right, they had a children's hospital there, but he took me past the children's hospital to the normal people hospital. So we go to the hospital, and what was funny is like after we had left, right, the friend that was coming over was walking down the street, and he walks up to the front door, and the front door was open. There's blood everywhere. And he's like flips out, and he's like, "Oh my God." He runs home, tells his parents, they call 911, the police show up there, all this stuff. Like they don't know what's going on, right? This is turned into a crazy thing.
You're a horrible kid.
So and I had been staying with my dad for the dad's summer visitation or whatever, and he was out of town on business, and I think my stepmother was somewhere. I don't remember, but so we go to the hospital and get inside there, and it was weird because like I remember they laid me down on the table, and I remember somebody asked me if I wanted to keep my shirt, and I'm 10 years old, and I'm like, "What the fuck do you think?"
Save my life.
And so they were like, "All right then." So they cut my shirt off, right? And then next thing I remember, they tell me count backwards from 100, and the last number I remember is 97.
Oh, you made it pretty far.
Next thing I know, I'm waking up in a recovery room, right? My father's sitting there. And this was back when like he was actually in my life. And so he's sitting there, and I look at him, and he sees me, and he's like, "You're awake." And he comes over to me, and the first thing I do is I threw up like all over him, right? Because I'd just eaten a whole bunch of pizza.
This is why your dad's not in your life.
This is right exactly here. Why
this
I ran
moment
him off
right
with this
here.
moment. Yeah.
This moment here.
Yeah, exactly. This is the tipping point of all my problems. It's right here. At this moment.
This is it. This is
like,
the
this
moment.
Little fucker puked on me. I'm out.
I was done business. You know how much it costs to fly back?
So I spent a long time in the hospital, right? Because it was like a 4.5 hour surgery. They literally had to repair, like put every nerve back together. So I have like a huge scar on my wrist, right?
Yeah.
It's very visible. There's a lot of scar tissue and all that kind of stuff. and actually I don't have feeling in the tip of my left thumb. I don't have feeling in the tip of my left index or middle fingers. And then like my thumb on my left hand, I can't do like a full thumbs up. Like, so like, you know, I have like, and it's super sensitive to the touch. I can't wear watches or anything on there because it just drives me nuts. If I think about it or talk about it too much, my wrist actually starts itching. Like it drives me crazy.
That's hilarious.
So I spent some time in the hospital, right? I actually watched the 1991 NBA Finals between the Bulls and the Lakers in the hospital.
Okay.
Right? Pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool.
So I remember going through recovery, going home. Well, then came the physical therapy part because they were telling me I was only going to get like maybe 40 to 60% usage of my left hand back.
Really?
Yeah. Like that's it. That's
Look
all
at
I could
you
ever
being
hope
a
for.
medical marvel.
So, and I ended up through, they had this machine. It was literally like a machine, and you put your wrist in it, right? And I didn't have a hard cast because I ended up having like 150 staples on the outside, and then I had like 150 stitches on the inside that were like this. They're like, excuse me, dissolving stitches or something like that. Yeah. So I went like I had my hand had to be like elevated on a. They actually sent one of those IV, what you call it? IV racks, stands, whatever, home, and my arm had to be elevated for weeks. I couldn't have any blood flow.
Wow.
In it. It had to be like up. So my arm was hanging. That's how I had to sleep. That's how I had to walk around. That's how everything. So
10, that sucks.
Once it got to a point where the actual cut, the laceration portion of it would not tear open, like the skin had fused enough, and they popped the staples out, which was a horrible experience. For being that age, you know, having staples like popped out. God, it was horrible. But then they gave me this like machine, right?
Yeah.
And on this machine, you have to put your wrist in it and hold on to this little bar with your fingers. Mm-hmm. And what it does is you turn the machine on and it does this, and it moves your wrist like up and down, like your
like
hands
a throttle position.
Yes. Well, try doing that when all your tendons have been re-sewn together, all your nerves, it was excruciating pain. I mean, excruciating. I would sit there and cry. What's funny is that like, my dad would be like, "Do you want to stop? You can stop if you want to, if it hurts too much." And I'd be like, "No, I want to keep going." We keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going until I was literally like bawling as I'm doing this, right? And I ended up getting like, I think it was 96% usage.
Well, that's good.
Of it back.
You can't even tell that he doesn't have usage of that.
Yeah, I mean it's fully functional except for like certain things. Like I can't do a straight thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any what you call rotational movement in my left thumb. So I can't move my thumb in a rotational way, in a circular way. So, and then just those fingertips. I
bet your mom, when you got back, was like, "This is why I don't let you go to your dad."
Well, what's funny is my mom at the time was actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, having brain surgery.
Oh my gosh.
She was having brain surgery the exact same day that this happened, and we were in surgery at the exact same time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it was just through like this intense physical therapy and doing all this stuff that I was able to overcome it and get
That's pretty much good, man.
Yeah.
What an idiot you were. What a dumb kid.
Yeah, I know. I was a stupid kid.
What a stupid kid.
So, anyway, well, hey, you know what? I got a news story for you. So, you know how you just came back from Chicago?
Yes.
So, I got a news story for you.
Okay.
So, this is interesting, right?
Actually saw this on the news before we left.
Did you?
Yep.
Did you? Okay, so you can actually discuss this current event.
Well, I mean,
previous current events.
It was coming next on the news type deal.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they talked about it for a little bit.
So, Chicago cops are calling in the feds again to help combat violent carjackings. Police are holding a news conference. That's not important. Anyway, so they're calling in the ATF, right, and other federal assistance because carjackings are out of control in the city of Chicago.
This is what I saw when I was on the news. Do you want to know why carjackings are out of control? Because the penalty is a Class B misdemeanor. It is criminal trespass of a vehicle.
Do you know?
It's criminal trespassing to carjack someone.
Illinois is insane.
So they're trying to make it a felony now, which I believe it is in every state because it's...
How is a carjack...
You criminally trespassed a vehicle. When I heard that, I started dying. I was like, no wonder they're carjacking people at an alarming rate.
Are these carjackings with guns?
Some of them are. Some of them are.
Is that still a trespassing of a vehicle?
I have no idea. They didn't get that far. They said some are with guns, some are not. But they said the penalty for it was Class B misdemeanor, and it was criminal trespass of a vehicle. And I was like, criminal trespass of a vehicle? I was like, first of all, what is a regular car? What is a regular auto theft there? Just a criminal trespass, man.
Because, in the great state of Tejas, you try to carjack somebody, you're probably getting shot.
You're probably going to get shot.
And guess what you're never going to do again?
Carjack anyone.
So I'm thinking there's possibly a correlation between making that happen, but there's, they don't allow guns in the city of Chicago, so,
They do. They allow them in the city of Chicago. I was actually talking with one of the cab drivers about that, and he was just saying how somebody from Texas asked him,
Well, I mean, isn't it, though, like it's super restricted? What I mean,
you have to have you got to get a license, and then they only have certain gun shops in certain areas.
Right,
and you have to. It's just, it's it's not hard to get one, but you got a lot of hoops to jump through,
Anyway, I just find it interesting that
listen.
What do you that city is out of control. It's out of control. It is not going to get political. I'm not going to do it.
Well, you can get political because when I was there, so I could tell that it was a very left state, which it is. It's very democratic, sure. But I can tell that the people there were getting a little tired of it because and it's not like I hopped in a cab and was just like, oh, let's talk politics. But these people would actually start talking politics. Yeah. And, what I heard from every person there was these people are really corrupt. No one cares about the crime here because everyone's padding their pockets. And they were saying they were like, one dude was like, the last good mayor we had was Mayor Daley. Mm-hmm. It's like, golly, that was forever ago. Yeah. And it's just like these people, he was the mayor there for 20 years. And before that, I didn't even know this, before Mayor Daley was the mayor, his dad was the mayor. Oh, wow. So it was a lineage thing. Wow. But, these people were just like, they've got to do something with the crime here. It's getting bad. And like I said, I didn't get to see any of it. I didn't really want to see any of it. But I didn't see any of this, because I'm, in the downtown district, and I'm
insulated in the tourist areas.
Yeah, I'm in the tourist areas. They want to make it look really nice, and they want to make it look pretty so that, it's not what the news says it is, Yeah. But these people that live there are just like, hey, it's really bad, Yeah. And it's just like, man, that really sucks, I mean,
can you imagine? I just can't, you can't even.
What I'm telling you.
You're literally taking your life into your own hands if you cross a certain threshold in Chicago.
Yeah, well, I will say this. I saw so many cops. Like, they're just, like, posted in the middle of the street. They're not like us to where, like, they're just straight driving around. Yeah. They're literally just posted up in their cars in the middle of the street. Wow. Like, in the medians. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool, I guess. They have a super big presence down here.
Sure. Down in the tourist area.
Down in the tourist area. And I'm sure they are like that everywhere else, but it's just so much, it's so hard when you're bumping.
And we don't even know how tied their hands are.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to when it comes to doing certain things. So
we'll do a little Q&A.
So a little Q&A. What is your definition of successful? When you think of a successful person, who is the first person that comes to mind and why?
I don't rate success based on your bank account.
Really?
I think that success is measured in personal accomplishment. So I could be an old man and on my deathbed and poor, but if I lived a rich life, if I had a happy family and I worked hard all my life and I had made personal accomplishments, I would consider myself successful, right? And I think that's true in every walk of life. Because you can see people that make a whole bunch of money, right, that are miserable. Right.
Yes.
And you can see famous people that make it and they're rich and famous and they're miserable. They may project on the cameras or whatever, but then the true Hollywood story comes out and you find out they were just fucking horrible.
This is true.
You know what I mean? Having money doesn't make you successful. I think when you are able to find happiness and personal accomplishment, then that's what makes you successful. And if I had to use a person the first person that comes to my mind when I think of successful is my grandfather, for sure, because he made a comfortable life.
Self-made.
He made a comfortable life, but he did it himself. He had many personal accomplishments, you know what I mean? And he was able to do that and live a full rich life without, he had some money. I mean, he was a successful textile engineer after he when he got his degree in from college. It was as a textile engineer, and he went to go work for Burlington Industries and ended up having a successful career there. But so he had some financial success, but he wasn't like rich or whatever. So I think his life, he had a beautiful family, and I think it all. But then of course you have other. You can name your obvious people, like Bill Gates and blah blah blah.
Michael Jackson,
Steve Jobs, Michael Jackson. Despite his civil suits. Anyway, what about you?
Successful. The first person that comes to mind is a family member too. It's my cousin Cassie. First of all, she's like the first person in my family to go to college and graduate. Female, and she just started up her own business a few years ago. She is a architect engineer with a minor in project managing. Nice. And she builds casinos, and that's her forte. And she does a lot of stuff on Indian Reserve land and stuff like that. So she's super successful to me. I mean, I always am just like, God. And I was one of the persons I should have listened to about going to college.
Right.
She used to be like, you should go to college. I'd be like, Cassie, not now. Totally join the military, and I have to take a year off to party to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this whole school thing.
Time for this.
It's foolishness.
Nonsense.
No one does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fad, and it's wearing out.
It's wearing out.
Yeah.
It's
lucky. At the end of its rope. Yeah. Ride it while you can.
Ride it while you can. Good job with your whole college degree thing. But no, she's super successful. And like this year, I was talking to her about it. This year was the first year that they ended in the black. So
nice. Awesome.
That's really good for them. So you know what I mean? So, and it took her a while to get all the licensing she needed. And it's just, she's one of the most successful people that I personally know.
Way to get her on the podcast. Talk about success and challenges she's overcome and things.
Yeah, she's not that type of person.
No, she wouldn't come on the podcast?
No.
Why not?
Dude, my cousin Cassie, like for as long as I can remember as a kid, she usually just stood up somewhere and just like looked at all of us and laughed and was like, they're so stupid. She's super quiet.
You don't have to be loud on here. It's just us. Interview her over Skype. Everything's good.
Yep. she supports the podcast. That's how she does it. And I'm not saying that because she listens to our podcast either. She is probably honestly the most successful person I know. Whenever I think of success, like I always think of her. I always brag about her to people. So
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a pretty awesome person. I love her.
All right. Well, if you have questions and things, please go to streetwarriorradio.com/contact. Or you can email us at info@streetwarriorradio.com, or you can submit us a question on any one of our social media platforms.
I have a question.
Yes.
Never mind.
What?
No.
No, go ahead.
No, listen, this is the thing.
You open this.
So I heard on a video that no one's ever flown around the world from north to south. They've only done east to west and west to east. Why is that?
What?
Yeah, no one's ever gone like this way around the earth. They've only gone that way around the earth.
I don't know that's. I don't know. I have no idea.
You know why?
Because it's flat.
No, I didn't say it. You did. But anyway, ways you can
hate you.
Ways you can get us. Don't forget, like he said, the website where you can do all your Amazon click through. So if you shop on Amazon, and I know you do.
Everyone shops on Amazon.
Everyone shops on Amazon.
Literally everyone.
I don't shop on Amazon often, but I at least make 3 purchases a year there.
At least
3 purchases a year.
Yeah.
It's just not, they don't have everything I need, but when I'm like looking for something cheap that I know that they have, I go to Amazon. They do have
Amazon for the deals, man.
Yeah, Amazon has good deals. If you're going to shop on Amazon, or you're someone who does all your shopping on Amazon, please go to our website, use the Amazon click-through, streetwarriorradio.com. You can get us on Instagram at streetwarriorradio.com, Facebook, Street Warrior Radio. Our Instagram is just Street Warrior Radio. Our Facebook is Street Warrior Radio. Twitter is
Street Warrior Radio, but it's spelled STRT, the word warrior, RDIO.
Yep. Boom. And don't forget, you can listen to the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, and TuneIn. I didn't even know we were on TuneIn.
We are on TuneIn, yes.
Yes.
Working on Spotify.
How come we're not on Spotify yet?
Things.
Okay. All right. No, that's
and
fine.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and don't forget to submit your questions, your comments, your war stories to streetwarriorradio.com. Contact our info at streetwarriorradio.com, JC at streetwarriorradio.com, Big Bo, BIGBO, at streetwarriorradio.com. That is my direct email.
Ooh.
How you doing?
Reach out and touch him.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Oh, real quick.
Yes.
I almost died in Chicago. I lied. I almost died. So
Okay.
we had a cab driver who I'm pretty sure hated life.
Wow.
All like like when someone's check engine lights on, it's like, okay, every light in his dash was on. And I was just like, I had left my debit card at a restaurant and we were getting ready to go to a movie. Then I was like, all right, we have two spots we want to go to, and he was like, I guess. That should have been that should have been a clue to get out.
Paying you.
And I was like, I need to go to the restaurant first, and then we're going to the movies. He was like, what's the address? And I was like, oh, the restaurant is this. And he was like, okay, that's 15. I was like, okay, well, calm down, bud. Give me a second to pull it up on my phone. So we get there, I get out, I grab it, and then we're going to the movies. He cuts like 1 million people off.
Oh my God.
Well, we pull up to the movies, and this guy pulls alongside of us, and he's like, fuck you. This is another cab driver. Fuck you, you motherfucker. You're a piece of shit. And our cab driver was like, yeah, fuck yourself. And then the other cab driver, like a light came on in his face. You could see it. He was like, you know what? You really are a fucking piece of shit. I just lost it. I started laughing. And he was like, don't worry about this guy. Just get out. I was like, are you sure he's not going to try to beat us up? No, fuck him. He's a piece of shit himself. And like we get out and the guy's like, I'm so sorry. You had to endure this fucking piece of shit driving you to the AMC. And I was like, it's not a big deal. Don't fucking tip him. And then he rolled his window down. He's like, fuck you. They tipped me anyway. I was like, oh. So, and I was like, I turned into my mom on a roller coaster in this cab ride. I closed my eyes and grabbed my girlfriend's hand and just started squeezing because I was so afraid. And she's like dying of laughter because she knows I hate being driven around anywhere. This dude almost killed us though.
Wow.
And it was snowing. So the roads are icy. He's just cutting people off because he doesn't want to be there. So,
wow.
I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you.
But the other dude's face was really great because he was like, you know what? You really are a fucking piece of shit. And I was just like, he gets it. It was amazing. But that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. I hope you've stayed. If you stayed around this long,
go ahead and end it right there.
If you stayed around this long, we're sorry that it didn't come out on Monday. That was my fault, 100% my fault. I was going on this trip, but my week was also packed. So you're gonna get 2 episodes pretty close to one another. This one will come out sometime in the middle of the week.
Should be the middle of the week.
Probably hopefully after Valentine's Day, and then we'll be recording one shortly after that, and it'll come out on its regular scheduled time on a Monday. So thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for being loyal listeners, and salute.
And with that, I want to say thank you to all the men and women of our armed forces. Thank you for everything that you do. To our brothers and sisters in blue and on the red side of the house in the fire service, paramedics, thank you for everything that you do. Continue keeping our community safe, and we honor all your sacrifices. And to the families of the first responders and the members of the military, we thank you also. Your sacrifices are well noted. To everyone else who works hard every day and stays in that grind and makes the world go around, you make it all worth fighting for. We thank all of our supporters. We love you guys. Thank you. Continue to write us, review, and subscribe. Follow us on our social media platforms. And with that, Street Warrior Radio is out of service.